जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेफ टॉक्स। दिस इज आदि अचिंत। आज थोड़ा टाइमिंग चेंज है बट टॉपिक बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं एक अमेरिकन हेजेमनी जो है, अमेरिकन एक होल्ड है पूरे दुनिया के ऊपर, उसको चैलेंज दिया जा रहा है फ्रॉम नॉट फ्रॉम बड़े बड़े कंट्रीज बट फ्रॉम अ कंट्री कॉल्ड ईरान। कहीं ना कहीं जो जो बाइडेन ईरान को रिस्पॉन्ड करने में थोड़ा सा वक्त लगा रहे हैं, उसके ऊपर बहुत सारे सवाल पूछे जा रहे हैं। तो लेट्स फाइंड आउट फ्रॉम अरिंदम मुखर्जी साहब हु इज हियर विद अस टू, यार ये क्या हो रहा है, व्हाट इज हैपनिंग। क्योंकि पिछली बारी मैं सबको एक छोटा सा रिकैप दूंगा विद योर परमिशन सर, इज दैट पिछली
Yes.
बारी हमने डिस्कस किया था एक रिमलैंड और हार्टलैंड थ्योरी, ठीक है, जिसके अंदर हमने आपको दिखाया था कि भाई हार्टलैंड में झगड़ा है और मतलब जो जो डिमांड है, और रिमलैंड में पूरी आग लगा रखी है। ठीक है, आग तो आपने लगा ली ना, आग लगाने के बाद आपको उसको मैनेज करना पड़ता है, वो कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ा गड़बड़ हो रही है। ठीक है,
बहुत
तो
गड़बड़ हो
दैट
रहा है।
बहुत गड़बड़ हो रही है, तो दैट इज समथिंग
हम्म,
विच इज सिग्निफिकेंट, और जो हमको समझना पड़ेगा कि कहीं ना कहीं अमेरिका अपने आप को खड़ा नहीं रख पा रहा है। तो इसका कॉन्सिक्वेंस क्या होगा दुनिया के ऊपर, और भारत को क्या देखना है, इसके अंदर क्या सीखना है और क्या करना है, आइए जरा डिस्कस करते हैं। वंस अगेन सर, नमस्कार, वेलकम टू द शो।
नमस्कार। गुड टू बी बैक।
ऑलवेज एन ऑनर। तो बताइए साहब, पहले तो योर ओपनिंग थॉट्स। आई मीन, मैं तो ये बोलता हूँ यार, ईरान ने लिटरली जो बाइडेन को थोड़ा स्टंप करके रखा हुआ है,
यार
क्योंकि द
आई वाज
द
वाचिंग। हाँ,
हम्म,
बोलो बोलो, फिनिश इट।
वही ना। आई मीन रिएक्शन आना चाहिए था अभी तक कुछ।
इलेक्शन ईयर है, क्या करेंगे। आई एम सेइंग दैट आई वाज वाचिंग, एक मिनट रुको, shut the WhatsApp. Yeah, I was watching your podcast. I couldn't watch the entire length, but I watched the first good 15-20 minutes or so, at least till the time you were within your presentation and all, that Iran wala. I don't know if you've mentioned this point. This is a very interesting theme up, which is something which an article of mine is also supposed to come out on. ये ब्रेक थ्रू कहाँ से मिला, कैसे मिला? दे हैव बीन अटैकिंग फॉर द पास्ट years, few years now. अक्टूबर से there was a spike in the attack, all this United States का airbase के ऊपर. The very interesting thing is this air bases around in the Middle East region, they usually put up a defense system which is called CRAM,
सीधा।
C-RAM. Now, this CRAM has or was pretty effective in tackling all these drones and all of these attacks that used to happen. Attacks to hoenge because you are spot in the middle of the most contested and the most one of the deadliest territories on earth, at least jahan tak is as far as terrorism is concerned. Attacks to honge hi, but CRAM was pretty good as far as stopping these attacks were concerned. Now here comes the interesting part. ज़ेलेंस्की ने बहुत अपना यूएस में बहुत अपना लॉबी वॉबी लगा के व्हाट ही डिड वाज ही सेड हमको एयर डिफेंस चाहिए, हमको एयर डिफेंस चाहिए करके लास्ट अक्टूबर में, नाउ दिस दैट्स वेयर इट गेट्स इंटरेस्टिंग। लास्ट अक्टूबर में यूक्रेन इंस्टॉल सीरैम। सो रशिया को टाइम मिला बिकॉज़ रशिया इज फ्लाइंग एयर अटैक्स आफ्टर एयर अटैक्स आफ्टर एयर अटैक्स ऑन यूक्रेन। They just took about a month and a half, and that was the time when the air raids on United States' base in Middle East took off. Took about 1.5 months, I don't know, 2 months for them to sort of crack the model. Just about a few weeks. I don't think it's a few weeks. It's been about a week, 10 days back. Patrushev met a batch of Iranian delegates. Immediately after that, this attack happened, and they have managed. I mean, tactically, this was a success. The Star 22
हम्म,
is concerned. A lot of there's not just cracking of defense system going on. There's a lot of sharing of intel also, which is possibly happening. I cannot be sure,
हम्म,
but this looks like a big probability. Now, अब यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स का जहां तक सवाल है यार, इलेक्शन ईयर है, देयर ओनली अ लिमिट टू व्हाट यू कैन डू। उधर से रिपब्लिकन्स चिल्ला रहे हैं, डोनाल्ड ट्रंप ने तो बहुत लंबा चौड़ा एक साउंड बाइट छोड़ा है कि दिस इज अ वीक प्रेसिडेंट। 4 years 5 years back when I was in power, Iran was down, ईरान में कुछ नहीं था, there was peace, and now this bugger has brought us on the verge of World War III, etc. उसने बहुत कुछ बोला है। I was going through a couple of articles ki how best can the US respond. Doesn't look like they have very many options. See, one good option is that island port जहां से ईरान का पूरा ऑयल का वो होता है, stacking and distribution and all. But then if you strike that, a lot of people are saying that you can hit that island port of Iran, and Iran's, it's an export-driven economy. It's an oil export-driven economy. It is going to like kind of get slashed by 60-70%. The thing is, if you hit that island port, it is like, you're striking within Iranian territory without ठोस सबूत of Iran having attacked your base. ईरान ने तो कुछ किया नहीं ना, वो तो प्रॉक्सी ने किया है. So I don't know, economic sanctions, wonder how that would work, because we've seen how it worked with Russia. As far as as far as proxy fighters are concerned, yes, they can trigger their proxy fighters. I'm saying the US can trigger their proxy fighters, like the same way Iran has triggered their proxy fighters. But उसमें कितना क्या damage कर पाएगा? Because the party with the most to lose over here is United States, for one more reason.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have noticed this or not. Just I think last week, Iraq made an announcement. Washington ने बगदाद के साथ एक इसमें बैठा है. They are willing to look into the phasing out of United States Army and its troops from Iraq. So yes, you're pretty much looking at a Middle East which looks like it is going to be post United States Middle East in the future. Because ये phase out, जो जहां तक phase out का सवाल है, if they move out of Iraq, then which means Syria is also going to make plans on what to do. Yeah. If Syria is making plans on what to do, then that leaves, if Syria is making plans and Iraq ने उसको प्रेशराइज करना शुरू किया. देखो, इराक को ना, यूएसए को इराक से निकलने के लिए, मतलब निकलने के वजह से कुछ ज्यादा खोने का नहीं है, बिकॉज इराक का जितना भी वो पेट्रोल मनी आता है, the entire proceeds of Iraqi oil sales is deposited in US bank. This is a mandate. तो पैसा तो उसको मिले ही जा रहा है. They are sitting very neat on that Iraqi money which is coming. Well, technically, legally they cannot, but then we see what they did with Russia's reserves. So they can still do that. So United States is not losing out much as far as extraction from Iraq is concerned in terms of money. But what is it going to do to its image if you sort of wind up and disappear? What is it going to do to the image of US, number one? And number two is, how is Israel going to handle that kind of a situation? So this is a state of very interesting flux actually in the Middle East.
नहीं, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है, बिकॉज कहीं ना कहीं देखिए, वन थिंग दैट इज देयर इज दैट जो बाइडेन नीड्स टू एक्ट. ठीक है, अगर आप इफ यू डोंट एक्ट, देन योर एंटायर होल्ड इन दिस रीजन इज गॉन.
You lose your election. If you don't act, you lose your election.
That is Biden, but अगर आप अमेरिका के एंगल से देखिए, it is basically a big loss कि आपको आके कोई थप्पड़ मार के चले गए, आप कुछ कर नहीं पाए. And it'll embolden these guys, क्योंकि पहले जो अटैक्स होते थे, one of the things that was there was a open-ended this thing कि यार open areas में मारेंगे एक दूसरे को, we will not hit people. Americans भी जब मारते थे, open areas में मारते थे इनको. Iranians respond करते थे, open areas में करते थे. This is the first time that threshold has been crossed. ठीक है, तो escalatory matrix जो है, जो ladder बोलते हैं, escalatory ladder, उसका जो पूरा control है इस time पे, it is there with Iran. It is actually the Iranians who's controlling what they're doing. Americans are reactive. तो ये एक बड़ी dangerous scenario.
And this is a very interesting scenario actually for Iran. Iran is controlling, but you can't prove anything. You can't link Iran with these people. You can say at best that these proxies are being managed by Iran, but then there's nothing much that you can do. And they always have this deniability factor, which they are utilizing. So yeah, it's a kind of a I would say it's a very interesting situation. They're testing the limits of United States. Probably ये जो हुआ था, ये बगदाद एंड इराक वाशिंगटन वाला बातचीत कॉन्फ्रेंस, दिस हैपेंड आई थिंक a week 10 days back, post which the attack came in. Who knows, this is a kind of a pressure tactics. Okay, we've got to know that you guys are planning. There's going to be in the near future there's going to be a phased out withdrawal. So let's start upping the ante a little bit. Let's start hitting a couple of bases and see how you respond. And they know very well that this is an election year. So United States का जहां तक moves का सवाल है, they are pretty much restricted. Yeah, but probably it's time. I mean, from a very macro angle, it's time when we start thinking about what could happen to a world, or what could happen to the rimland where, post United States, that kind of a
You know,
situation.
I don't know if you follow Peter Zion, although I don't agree with सब कुछ वो जो बोलता है उसका थोड़ा it's a very democratic sort of a narrative that he
अच्छा.
gives across, but उसका एक saying है which I find pretty relevant. वो बोलता है कि United States is not interested to patrol the world's oceans anymore.
Hmm.
ठीक है, तो दैट फैक्ट विल कम क्लियर यहाँ पर बड़ी क्लियरली कि साहब हो गया हमारा काम, हमारे पास ना कैपेसिटी है ना दिस थिंग है, लेकिन आप पंगे लोगे आपके सिर में आके मारेंगे।
Hmm.
तो पार्ट वन ठीक है, अंडरस्टूड, फेयर इनफ, दूसरे कंट्रीज को अपना काम अपने आप करना पड़ेगा, परफेक्ट। बट ये जो मारने वाला जो दूसरा पार्ट है, जो मैंने बोला कि आप इफ यू टेक पंगास विद मी आई विल कम एंड बड़ी स्मैश योर हेड,
Hmm.
दिस इज बिकमिंग अ प्रॉब्लम, क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं यहाँ पर है। अ, तो ये अमेरिका का एंगल है, सो प्लीज कमेंट ऑन दिस। दूसरी तरफ मैं आपसे ईरान का भी एक चीज पूछूंगा कि देखिए जो भी कह लो, आई डोंट थिंक द इजरायलीज आर डूइंग क्वाइट दैट वेल इन गाजा। ठीक है, मिलिटरीली थोड़ा ढीले पड़ गए हैं, देव गॉट स्टक इनटू दैट रोड टू रोड कॉम्बैट जो इनको नहीं करना चाहिए था। बट इन एनी केस
Hmm.
दे नो बेटर, ये मैं बाहर बैठ के बोल रहा हूँ, सो आई मे नॉट बी अ फुल अथॉरिटी ऑन इट। हैविंग सेड दैट, गाजा में हमास की पिटाई बहुत जोर से हो रही है, देयर इज नो क्वेश्चन अबाउट इट। ठीक है जी, तो ईरान को भी चाहिए कि यार अगर ये हार गए तो हमको एक डाइवर्जन चाहिए।
Hmm.
इज देयर अ गेम हियर दैट बोथ ऑफ देम आर ट्राइंग टू प्ले कि भाई या वहां से अटेंशन हटाओ, जरा इस तरफ लेके आओ, लेट्स ट्राई एंड सॉर्ट दिस आउट ओवर हियर।
See, it's very difficult to say for with certainty. Frankly speaking, as far as Iran is concerned, ये हमास को ईरान मतलब ईरान helping Hamas is not out of any geostrategic compulsion. Iran helping Hamas is to needle Israel, is to keep Israel occupied as much as it can. Iran has got Hajar other proxy forces like the way it is employing Houthis. So Hamas's, I personally don't think Iran's survival depends on Hamas's survival. So Hamas, agar हार भी गए, but if
एक्सपेंडेबल है वो
Hamas
तो।
can, yeah, expendable. But if Hamas can keep Israel engaged sufficiently, that is a job well done as far as Iran is concerned. This is what ideally I think this is the way they look at things. Now, comes in the angle of Benjamin Netanyahu. Ideally speaking, and this is something which I've been writing it from day one, that his entire idea should be to keep the conflict limited within Gaza, use a little bit of force, and find a little bit of diplomatic solutions. Now, Joe Biden has been the single biggest failure in convincing him to keep it contained. This is flared out in the Red Sea area. This is now gonna hit. This is now has hit United States directly. One of the primary consideration of United States in an election year should have been to keep it contained. इसने उसका बात नहीं सुना. So he is now, this guy is hellbent on expanding it. I don't know to what end, frankly speaking, because Adi, I mean, think of it logically. If an Israel is taking so many days, as far as this kind of the moment this warfare changed and became an urban warfare, Israel का efficacy बहुत कम हो गया, जो आप भी बोल रहे हो. Push comes to shove, if it has a Hezbollah attacking it from its north, and if it has somebody else attacking it from somewhere else, अगर मान लो 2-3 front खुल गए, I have very serious doubts on how would Israel be able to perform. All due respect to them.
आई मीन ये
So
सवाल, दिस इज समथिंग आई एम आल्सो स्ट्रगलिंग विद कि ये दे गॉट इनटू, हैव दे बिटन इन मोर देन दे कैन चू।
पहले नहीं लग रहा था, अभी मुझे लग रहा है, because पहले नहीं लग रहा था, with, as I said, that written with the assumption that he should try to keep this conflict contained, which he did not. Now, I don't know what level of thinking these guys have. Probably they don't have a very realistic. ये तो होता है ना. The more power you gain, the more insulated you become, because people, you surround yourself is
यस
with
मैन।
yes men. Yeah. तो हो सकता है कि they were shit scared of telling him कि बॉस ऐसा नहीं चलेगा. देश जो बाइडेन जिसका तो कोई नहीं सुनता है, तो नेतन्याहू क्या सुनेगा उसका. So this is not, if this persists, this is not going to look very good for Israel in the long run, because there's going to be a lot of depletion. They're a very small country. They cannot exert and क्या बोलते हैं उसको and they cannot exert a pressure. They cannot project a power which is not proportional to their size. They have to keep this in mind. And
That's a good point.
well, yeah, and Iran has probably a lot to lose, but Iran is hitting the world's single largest hegemon on an election year. That is one big advantage that Iran is looking at.
आई थिंक आपने एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग सा पॉइंट निकाला है, क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं वी गेट अ लॉट ऑफ रिकमेंडेशन एज एनालिस्ट, जो बोलते हैं कि आप बोलते रहते हो कि भारत ये है, भारत वो है, अब देखो मालदीव्स आके कुछ करके चले जाता है, कभी कोई कुछ करके चले जाता है, कभी कोई कुछ करके चले जाता है. दैट इज अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट आपने जो बोला है कि साहब प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड, आप जितने भी बड़े हो, दे विल बी इनफ पीपल टू काइंड ऑफ स्क्रू अराउंड एंड पुल योर लेग. वो तो होगा.
Yeah.
हाउ यू हैंडल दैट सिचुएशन ऑन द अदर हैंड is the game that you actually play.
Is what, and this is going ahead. This is how the game is going to be. अच्छा, Maldives हमको गाली दिया, इसका मतलब क्या है? I am not United States that I am going to go and bomb Maldives. वो जमाना चला गया. आज यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स को गाली दे रहा है, कुछ नहीं कर पा रहा है यार. ये मालदीव्स को लेके क्यों मतलब सवाल करने का तो कुछ भी कर सकते हैं. मालदीव्स क्यों गाली दे रहा है, श्रीलंका,
फिलीपीन चाइना देख लो.
हाँ,
छोटा कंट्री है फिलीपींस, लगा हुआ आंख दिखा रहा है उसको, कुछ नहीं कर सकते आप उसका.
exactly. I mean, those days are gone. You have to be very calibrated, very careful in your in deciding the rules or the terms of engagement. ऐसे थोड़ी होता है. Biggest example जो मैं डिस्कस कर रहा हूँ ना, अपने सामने ही है. Iran hits your base, kills your people. What are you doing? It's been like what, 3, 4, 5 days now. आज से 20 साल पहले होता तो क्या होता? आज से 20 साल पहले होता तो कारपेट बॉम्बिंग शुरू हो जाता. आज देखो, सोच रहा है बुड्ढा क्या करे, समझ में नहीं आ रहा है.
ये बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग सा सिचुएशन है, क्योंकि मेरा जो सेकंड सवाल है, तो वीव एस्टैब्लिश्ड कि अमेरिका की एक ग्रिप थोड़ी हल्की हो गई है, दैट दे हैव काइंड ऑफ लॉस्ट द ग्रिप विद रिगार्ड्स टू देयर होल्ड. नाउ इसके अंदर द लास्ट थिंग दैट आई आस्क यू इन दिस इज दैट डू यू थिंक दे हैव लॉस्ट द ग्रिप और द विल टू टेक द डिसीजन?
They are losing their grip. They're losing their grip. Will to take decision का पता नहीं. Will to control is very much there, boss. Adi. Nobody wants to give up control. Will to control is very much there. But the problem that they have created in their will to control over the past 20, 25 years is the result that is coming back and biting them in the ass. And they don't have an answer to that.
True.
That's what it looks like.
True.
Okay. So, because see, there is also been, if I go by that Heartland Ribbland outlook, there's also been a very some kind of a degradation in their outlook. The United States of last century was the United States that had the ambition of controlling and ruling the world. Like it or not, good or bad, let's not get into it. The United States of this century is हम नहीं खाएंगे तो तेरे को भी नहीं खाने देंगे. मेरे से नहीं हो रहा है तो हम वहां पे आग लगा देंगे. That's a massive shift of the mindset that has happened. I don't know how that has happened. Or probably it was always, हाँ बोलो,
probably always there, but मेरे को capability कम नहीं दिखती है इनकी. Honestly, I don't find the factor कि इनकी capability कम है, क्योंकि इनके पास 2 aircraft carrier है. That is more than, I mean, that's a huge amount of force. अगर ईरान को इनको बॉम्बिंग करनी हो, दे कैन हिट ईरान विद 4 times द साइज ऑफ द इंडियन एयरफोर्स. इतने एसेट्स इनके पास हैं वहां पर. आई मीन, दे कैन पुट द प्लेस टू रबल, बट द प्रॉब्लम इज, विल दे डू समथिंग टू ईरान और विल दे डू समथिंग आउटसाइड is the question. Because कहीं ना कहीं, which brings me to my second point, is has Iran stumped the USA by posing this question कि साहब मैं आपको मार रहा हूं, लेकिन आपको ये नहीं समझ में आ रहा कि मेरे को ठोको या मेरे बच्चों को ठोको या मेरे इंटरेस्ट को ठोको या मेरे ऑयल को ठोको. यू आर नॉट एबल टू डिसाइड बिकॉज ईच वन ऑफ देम हैज अ डेटरेंस वैल्यू जो मैंने अटैच करी है आपके लिए. क्या बोलेंगे उसके लिए?
It certainly looks like that now. It certainly looks like that now. Now, we don't know, as I said, that if they decide to strike Iranian key personalities like Soleimani and all, do they have the requisite intelligence for that? That was peacetime. They depended a lot on Israel to collect intel and data. Abhi kya halat mein hai? Everything is in a state of flux. These people have become, smarter and shrewder probably. So info leak is probably not going to happen that easily. If you hit targets outside Iran, what good is it going to do to Iran? Nothing. You're hitting the Houthis already. You're hitting Hamas already. Iran is
जी
least bothered. This is a very good chess move. Stump नहीं किया तो at least एक अच्छा सा chess piece move तो किया, because again, as I said, you cannot directly link Iran with this attack. और आप जो ईरान को अटैक करोगे, आपके पास है क्या? Do you have any proof that it was Iran that was behind this attack? You don't have. So at best, I don't know. You economically sanction बहुत time लगता है. वो देख लिया. They have already tried several forms of color revolution in Iran, and probably that is something which is going to go on. That's about it. Because every time if you see, इसने ईरान को मैसेज भेजा कि बॉस हम तुमको अटैक करेंगे, एक कोई जगह पे अटैक करेंगे. ईरान से you can't do that because we haven't done anything. So there's this deniability which is like actually tied their hands. They can't do much about it.
ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग सा सिनेरियो. द सेकंड पॉइंट आई वांट टू ब्रिंग अबाउट इन द ईरान स्टंप इज नाउ चाइना तो बोलेगा यार ईरान से आता है मेरे को तेल, तो इफ ईरान गोज डाउन द ट्यूब, मेरा तेल थोड़ा गड़बड़ है, लेट मी पुट दैट असाइड. यूएसए बिजी है, हल्का है, डू आई डू समथिंग?
They've been non-committal. I don't know if you know this. United States had approached China to go and drill some sense into Iran.
Yeah.
तो चाइना ने कुछ खास नहीं बोला. आई गेस देयर इज अ रीजन व्हाई चाइना ने कुछ खास किया नहीं, क्योंकि ये रेड सी में जो लोचा चल रहा है अभी, जो हूती का अटैक, एंड यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स एंड यूनाइटेड किंगडम हैव क्रिएटेड देयर ओन मैरिटाइम फोर्सेस टू डिफेंड दैट सेफ्टी एंड whatever for that region. Whatever is happening is hitting China very badly, because 60% of China's exports usually goes to Red Sea area. So that entire thing has come to a literal standstill, and which is again hitting China's economy. So if United States has approached China कि यार ईरान के साथ थोड़ा बातचीत करो, and if China agrees to it, then that could be कि आप पहले रेड सी को शांत करो, उसके बाद हम सोचेंगे ईरान के साथ बात कर सकते कि नहीं कर सकते. So that's one thing. But China का कुछ है. China has reasons to be worried. Why? I'll tell you. Because China's energy dependence is Middle East. If you look at United States' energy dependence is not Middle East. It's Europe's energy dependence and China's energy dependence, which is Middle East.
Now, thank you very much for mentioning this. That means the Americans are saying, भाई मेरे को यहाँ पर इतना इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, ठीक है तुम लोग इतना वो कर रहे हो तो आई एम कमिंग, अदरवाइज मेरे को इंटरेस्ट नहीं है यहाँ. Are you trying to say that? Because मेरा इंटरेस्ट उधर पे है इजराइल में, जहाँ पर मैं खेल रहा हूँ वहां पर कुछ नहीं होगा उसको. मेरा इधर पे इंटरेस्ट नहीं है. ये आप लोग देखो बॉस, दिस इज नॉट माय गेम एनी मोर. हाँ ठीक है, उसने मेरे को कुछ करा, मैं ठोक ठाक के निकल जाऊंगा यहाँ से. That's it.
Could very well be. Even if America's interest is there, it is the last vestiges of America's interest in Rimland which is keeping America here. Otherwise, America का practically देखो, अमेरिका का वहां पे क्या था ऑयल के लिए, तो वो कभी इस मिडिल ईस्ट के पास, मतलब अमेरिका never took any oil from Middle East that way. It took that oil money, पेट्रो डॉलर में वो किया, they used to control the global trade.
थोड़ा बहुत हाँ.
The main thing about America trying to control Middle East was because Europe को oil चाहिए था, and Middle East was the easy thing to Europe. So America controlled the oil trade, so it made a lot of money, and this oil trade used to be controlled, or is still being controlled, by dollar. So उसमें अमेरिका का इंटरेस्ट है, and to secure that oil supply for its allies, which is Europe. अभी तो यूरोप को यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स खुद सप्लाई कर रहा है आफ्टर ब्लोइंग अप द नॉर्थ स्ट्रीम एंड ऑल. Okay, so now if I logically think about it, अमेरिका का वहां पे रहने का एक ही मतलब है, गोइंग बैक टू निकोलस स्पाइकमैन एंड हालफोर्ड मैकिंडर. पता नहीं क्या कीड़ा है, क्या ऑब्सेशन है वो लोग को, वो रिमलैंड लेके पड़ा हुआ, बिकॉज़ अदरवाइज आई डोंट सी एनी रीजन व्हाई दे हैव टू मेडल अराउंड इन द अफेयर्स ऑफ मिडिल ईस्ट. There's only this thing ki probably I can needle China because China's energy dependence is on Middle East. I can needle India because India's energy dependence is Middle East. And that old last century idea of heartland and rimland, because this Saudi and that area is basically a part of the rimland. So, and if you can keep rimland burning, that is going to keep heartland also in conflict.
या दैट्स वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग, क्योंकि ये कहीं ना कहीं हमने पिछली बार इसके ऊपर हिंट किया था. एंड गाइस, मैं सबको रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि वो पिछला वाला शो भी देखिए. दीज टू शोज आर कनेक्टेड. ठीक है, वी स्पोकन अबाउट हार्टलैंड थ्योरी क्या है और क्यों अमेरिका इन जगहों के अंदर आग लगाता है. तो हमने उसको पूरी एक्सप्लेन करा है. एंड वी एक्चुअली वी हैड अ नाइस लिटिल बैंटर दैट डे. 1 घंटे का तो हमारा बैंटर ही था, जहां पर हमने वी लिटरली केम अप विद दिस थिंग ऑन द शो इटसेल्फ. कपल ऑफ रेवलेशंस फॉर मी. आई डोंट नो अबाउट अरिंदम जी, बट मेरे लिए काफी सारे अच्छे रेवलेशंस थे. बट अमेरिका का एक एक गेम जो है, ही वांट्स टू विड्रॉ फ्रॉम हियर. ठीक है, ये बोलता है यार यहाँ मेरे को कुछ नहीं रखा मेरा. हैविंग सेड दैट, मेरा एक पक्का बिलीफ है कि बलूचिस्तान पे अमेरिका की बहुत हार्डकोर नजर है. एंड द थिंग्स दैट आर हैपनिंग इन बलूचिस्तान, एंड आई जस्ट डिस्कस दिस विद संजय जी ऑन जयपुर डायलॉग्स जस्ट अबाउट एन आवर अगो, दैट ये है. नो, उसका मतलब क्या है? दे स्टिल वांट अ ग्राउंड होल्ड इन दिस एरिया. ठीक है, पॉइंट जो मैं आपसे पूछना चाह रहा हूं कि भाई आपको क्या दिखता है एज द इमर्जिंग ऑर्डर फॉर दिस रीजन, क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं आप भी अपने थोड़ी तलवारें तेज कर रहे हो. द शो ऑफ फोर्स जो आप कर रहे हो इस टाइम पे, दैट इज नथिंग बट शार्पनिंग योर स्वॉर्ड्स. सो व्हाट वुड
Yeah.
यू से टू दैट गेम? व्हाट इज हैपनिंग हियर?
So America and some connection with Balochistan again brings us back to the same point that I may not physically be here in the Middle East, in West Africa, in West Asia, but I would definitely have some leverage, which I'm going to use to needle you, so that you remain doused in conflicts, different forms of conflicts, different scales of conflict. So your development and your prosperity and your economic whatever stability and all doesn't come. That is why I was telling you that there was last century America which wanted to dominate the world through a constructive whatever attitude. This America is मेरे से नहीं हो रहा है तो तेरे को भी नहीं करने देंगे. So if I see a Southeast Asia growing economically, I would try to keep them divided. If I see a rimland which comprises of this part of the rimland where you have India, which is trying to grow or which is growing, which is showing some good result, I'll try to keep you as much doused in conflict as possible. I'll try to do the same thing in the Middle East. Because मिडल ईस्ट में कुछ दिन पहले तक तो भी ठीक चल रहा था ना, with your the Middle East spice corridor, and you've got that Abraham Accords and things like that. Okay, things were going good. So, and it is the inability or the unwillingness of United States to see a stable Eurasian landmass is what is creating all this. अब बलोचिस्तान में वो कनेक्शन बनाया है आज, कल वो उज्बेकिस्तान में भी बना सकते हैं. You've seen what has happened in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan has forever been swaying once towards the Russian side, once towards the Western side, again towards Russian and again towards Western side. They are going to try and create all of this chota mota subversive elements in each and every country, whichever country has some potential for growth. Balochistan mein, I am not surprised. They have this contact which you have discussed with Sanjay, Mr. Dixit in Jaipur Dialogues. Why? Because Balochistan agar alag ho gaya, to you have a Gwadar. If you have a Gwadar with a Balochistan sharing border with Afghanistan, you don't need a Pakistan. You still have the Gwadar and the Central Asian axis. Again, that rimland wala, घिसा पिटा वाला, पुराना वाला, वो लोग के जो, I don't know, theory is what they seem to be fascinated about. And yeah, but if you look at it, this and मतलब हैरान की बात ये, हालफोर्ड मैकिंडर ने ये हार्टलैंड वाला बनाया था because he was shit scared. We did talk about the Heartland story last time. This time around, let me share this with you. Mackinder was scared because he had seen the kind of revolution that Trans-Siberian rail line जो रशिया ने बनाया था, and later on Russia started building railroads inside Central Asia, Turkmenistan, and they could take over places like Panjde and all of this place, Merv and Panjde and all, because they had their rail line. वो औरंगाबाद से सामान आता था कैस्पियन सी के उस पार, they would cross it over by sea, and फिर वो rail line बना था. They had prepared rail connectivity, and that is what blew this Halford Macinder's mind. And he realized कि boss, naval power, which is Mahan, naval power के through से you can reach certain territories, but hold जमाने के लिए you need to be a land power, blah blah blah. So he was scared of the coming of the future of land expansionist power. That is why he created this heartland theory. Now I don't know, Spikeman got so influenced by it कि यार heartland, उसके बाद ये rimland आया, and then United States establishment and West got so influenced by it कि उसने सोच लिया कि this is the only way by which we can control the world. So if you look at it critically, this is how it looks.
I don't get this fascination कि यार
ये किस चीज का, हार्टलैंड वाला? आप
क्या
क्या करोगे
फैसिनेशन है?
That's how
दुनिया
it is.
चेंज हो गई है, हार्टलैंड पूरा ऊपर से नीचे। दो आपका एक प्रिंसिपल था कि हार्टलैंड को आपको तोड़ना है, रशियन फेडरेशन या रशियन सोवियत यूनियन आपको तोड़ना था, वो आपने तोड़ ताड़ के बराबर कर दिया है। ठीक है, 26-27 नेशन बना दिए वहां पर, एवरीथिंग इज डन, नो प्रॉब्लम। नाउ अब आप क्यों इसके पीछे पड़े हो? बिकॉज यू नाउ से रशिया इज इरेलीवेंट, यूजलेस कंट्री, कुछ भी नहीं है, इट इज अ गैस स्टेशन मैस्करेडिंग एज अ कंट्री। ये तो आपका ही नैरेटिव है ना। ठीक है, तो ईरान का क्या नैरेटिव है? इट इज अ रेडिकली व्हाटएवर ये जो बोलते हैं भैया, इट
इज अ गैस स्टेशन लेड बाय मुल्लास। चलो
मुल्लास, चलो ठीक है,
गैस स्टेशन लेड बाय मैडमैन, दिस इज अ गैस स्टेशन लेड बाय मैड मुल्लास।
कर्सी डेफ टॉक्स उनको एक डायलॉग भी दे देंगे हम लोग।
या
ठीक है, बट अभी देखते हैं, लेट्स, आई वांट टू एनालाइज भारत। ठीक है, जो भी ये हाईजैक्स हुए हैं, यू नो, यू बीन एंड यू हैव रिस्पोंडेड फास्टर देन एनीवन एल्स, यू हैव हिट देम। कई जगहों में आपने थोड़ी सी शो ऑफ फोर्स भी करी है, वीडियोज आर देयर, एंड एज अ मैटर ऑफ फैक्ट आपने इसकी जो इंफॉर्मेशन वॉरफेयर जो टैक्टिक है, आपने बड़े अच्छे से खेली है। You have put out timely information. You have put out videos where it was required. You have put out evidence of Pakistani soldiers हाथ जोड़ के थैंक यू करते हुए।
वो टाटा बाय बाय भी किया ना, टेक केयर,
टाटा
ख्याल
बाय बाय
रखना
वाला
ये।
भी डाला। तो आपने एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग सा, एंड दिस इज ऑन द फ्लाई, इट इज नॉट दैट यू हैव प्लान्ड दिस ऑपरेशन एंड आपने जाके वहां पर ये करा है, और दिस इज ऑन द फ्लाई यू हैव डन, इट्स नॉट डन दिस थिंग। सो ये कुछ रीडिंग बताओ यार, द मैसेजिंग जो आप भारत कर रहा है यहाँ पर, what do you think is happening here?
Okay, macro view, India is going to probably remain a regional power only in terms of projection of power. Because, and then that brings me to the part of India's naval power. India's naval power can be projected in and around this region where India is actually excelling. Indian Ocean and parts adjacent to adjoining the Middle East and the Gulf region, basically. This is the region which I think would be India's core area, and this is the region which I think would be India's strong area. Okay. India cannot project its power beyond this, because India is probably Indian defense is going to be divided between maintaining a certain amount of land presence, because we've got a disturbing neighborhood, divided between land and land and water, so to say, navy. What India is doing right here is India is projecting not just hard power, but a wonderful projection of soft power. And this is the key game which I think India is going to play. Post United States, अगर rimland में देखे, quick look rimland में देखे, तो you can, the core countries are Germany, which is in decline. If you go to Europe, Germany is in decline. There are a couple of other factors which are coming up, which have a chance of again posing France and Germany with each other. But we can discuss this at a later date. You have a Turkey which is on the rise now. Turkey has got एक चीज जो कोई नहीं बोलता है. We all talk about Turkey and Bosphorus Straits and Turkey controlling Black Sea, and Turkey has got a fair amount of grip on Mediterranean Sea and all. Turkey has got a fair grip on the Middle Eastern countries because Tigris Euphrates का जो origin है, that's in Anatolia. They control the water,
जी.
and they've got a massive reserve of fresh water, so they can mess up Iraq, etc., if they want to. But Turkey would probably be focused more on Europe because Turkey has, let's say, in a nutshell, Turkey has got a problem with France, which it is going to try and resolve politically because Turkey is pushing political parties in Europe. We've had a discussion on this. Iran का तो अभी बात इतना देर कर रहे थे. Iran, of course, has its network and Iran has its proxy and all that. And this is where, UAE, Saudi Arabia, if Saudi Arabia keeps at the path that Saudi Arabia has taken, so Saudi Arabia, UAE, India can play a major role as far as influencing culturally influencing this region is concerned. अगर कुछ नहीं, ये योगा वोगा भूल जाओ. Okay, I am being pessimistic. Forget Bollywood, forget yoga, forget everything. Jaishankar's biggest USP, Jaishankar's biggest selling point would be if Jaishankar manages to convince or soft convince, and people try to copy him, agar karta hai ye, ki he is constantly for the past 2-3 years going on talking about transactional relationships. So we are not talking about an alliance, we are not talking about sacrifices, we are not talking about friendship, we are talking about a transactional alliances. Kal ko Aadi, agar ye entire Middle East, if Middle East were to sort of try and find out that common element between them which can keep them at relative peace, if Middle East takes on this approach of transactional alliance, that would be India's biggest, soft power victory. Because this is the man who's first been talking about transactional alliances in a post-United States, in a multipolar world, so to speak.
The new world as it's going to be called. क्योंकि देखिए आप एक बहुत you're mentioning something very interesting. क्योंकि आप बोल रहे हो कि साहब वी डोंट वांट ग्लोबल एम्बिशंस. मैं पैसिफिक ओशन के अंदर बीच में वो सब नहीं करने वाला था. मेरे को शौक नहीं है उधर पे. ठीक है ना, मेरा इंटरेस्ट है ना मेरे को वहां से कुछ चाहिए. हाँ ठीक है, वी विल हैव इन्फ्लुएंस इन दैट एरिया. हम अपनी ट्रेनिंग जो भी करना है, ये करना है, वो करना है, वो अपनी नेवी को आप ब्लू ओशन बनाओ, ब्लू वाटर केपेबल बनाओ, सेंड देम वेरेवर यू वांट टू, डू योर ट्रेनिंग इन द मिडल ऑफ द पैसिफिक एंड कम बैक. Not a problem. Nobody is having the hair to in that. But I think you brought about very, 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 very interesting things कि कहीं ना कहीं आपने एक future transactional relationship, I call that partnership relationships. कि साहब common interest partnerships बोलता हूँ मैं इनको. And I've kind of spoken about this now. See, I don't know if you've seen that show or not, but if you notice, our thoughts are pretty much on the same line. You said कि भाई transactional का क्या मतलब है कि आप का इंटरेस्ट ये है, मेरा ये है, लेट्स मीट. यहाँ पर हमारा इंटरेस्ट मीट नहीं हो रहा तो यहाँ पर हम बात नहीं करेंगे.
That's it. There's no worship, there's no jhamela, there's no nothing. I mean, that's the professional way to deal with things, and that's how things get done everywhere. It's only in the field of international politics do we see planes flying, etc., etc. So yeah, that's the biggest thing that India can project. India can project power to a limited extent as far as Navy is concerned. India can project power to a limited extent as far as land is concerned. What India can project unlimited is the soft approach, is the cultural approach. And this is something which India has been very busy with during the past 2-3 years, if I may, because they are trying to build a couple of them up solidly. And not to sound very optimistic, but you've got the Ram Mandir, which is going to probably cascade a lot of things, a lot of positives as far as cultural influence is concerned. I would wish and I would pray that Minister Jaishankar's transactional approach catches that same kind of steam, like probably a Ram Mandir, where people think of a transactional approach 5 years or 10 years down the line as the India way or the Bharat way, as he keeps talking about. The only two concerns with India has, which one was manufacturing, which is I think Mr. Modi had this meeting 13th of Jan or somewhere where he said you move into a war economy, and people started thinking that, oh, we are going to have a fight with China. I personally don't think so. I think we are moving into a phase where we do our own R&D and stuff, and we create our own products.
Which
India
is
right
what,
manufacturing.
sorry to interrupt you, which is what been
हाँ
is been seen with the defense budget जो आज निकाला है, जिस तरह का बजट निकाला है उन्होंने, can be
हाँ
clearly seen.
okay. Because see, I went to this show with Harimohan sir where I said that, internet bolo, GPS bolo, phone ka microchip bolo, all these are defense product. Okay, people might heap praises on Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and think them to be wonder kids and all. Actually, they are nothing. United States Department of Defense का जितना भी creations होता है, all the cutting edge, all the innovation, all the state of the art which they use and which they use for their war purposes for as long as they like. When they don't need them, they just keep it. They just let it out in the open market. There's no this thing. क्या बोलते हैं उसको? There is no patent. तो
Patent.
कोई भी उसको खरीद ले, वो प्रोडक्ट उसका हो जाएगा. So yes, the chip actually was designed to guide ICBM. Navstar was the father of GPS. Navstar was designed to guide cruise missiles. ये digital camera was again a creation of US Army. इंटरनेट वॉज अ क्रिएशन ऑफ यूएस आर्मी बिकॉज वो लोग वो क्या बोलते हैं न्यूक्लियर रिसर्च करते थे सीक्रेट लैब्स में एंड दे हैड टू ट्रांसफर डेटा सो ऑल द प्रोडक्ट्स दैट यू आर यूजिंग मोस्ट ऑफ ट्रेन इज अ मिलिट्री प्रोडक्ट telegraph is a military product, telephone is a military all these products that we use today are all products of war. So cutting a long story short, if the defense industry is providing you, and if the defense industry is coming up with cutting edge technology driven product which are going to run the market of the future, then Indian defense should also do that. And my thing is probably that is the only reason why he said, war economy mein jao, apna manufacturing ko strong karo. So that's the one point where India has to sort of catch up. The other place area where India has to catch up, probably this is not the right platform, is the mindset, what I call the excellence mindset, which we are lacking.
Absolutely. No, this is the bang on platform. Trust you me. I mean, please go with it.
When I say excellence mindset, which is, I know it would be too optimistic of me to expect that, because excellence mindset aata hai when you've undergone complete industrialization as a society. That is where you start appreciating things and the act of doing things the right way. India mein we excel in jugaad, and we take a lot of pride in jugaad, and jugaad has got several advantages, and I am absolutely okay with that. But the fact is सब कुछ जुगाड़ लगा के नहीं होता है. कुछ चीज के लिए R&D रखना जरूरी है. हम लोग खरीदना पसंद करते हैं, यार 10 एयरक्राफ्ट खरीद लो, यार 20 टैंक खरीद लो. Tomorrow, if there's a war with someone and if all your 20 aircrafts are shot down, even if you have the money, would your manufacturer be able to provide you?
Look
What
at the
is your
Saudis,
relationship? Yeah. What is your relationship with your manufacturer? कल वो तुम्हारे से बात नहीं कर रहा है, वो तुमको घंटा एयरक्राफ्ट देगा. Number two, you don't have money to buy aircraft. What are you going to do?
You have to
Russia ने
manufacture.
क्या? There's no other way.
Yep.
And this is a defense example जो मैंने बताया. छोड़ दो यार, अपना corporate में देखो. How many products are developed in India? Not even 5%. We don't have R&D. All we do is buy.
Add this into your narrative, please, if you don't mind. Excellence in critical thinking.
Critical thinking, yeah.
Beautiful comment.
Excellence as in critical thinking. Excellence in thought process. Critical thinking is not just it. If you are, for example, a simple thing, if you are trying to do something, you should give it your best shot. Do we do that? We don't. We try to give it the bare minimum shot that is required to pass that.
Yeah.
We don't. That's the difference. That's not critical thinking. That's like kind of putting your heart and your soul and giving it your best shot. That's it. Something very simple. Brushing your teeth. Is your mind? I mean, I know it sounds very theoretical, But that's how we were taught when we joined. We were greenhorns joining a multinational as trainers, and we were how to focus. And we were said that there are five things that you do in the morning. When you're doing each of those things, you should be completely focused on that thing and on nothing else in the world. So the example that I'm giving is like probably 30 years old, 40 years old, given by one of my mentors, that when you're brushing your teeth, the health of your teeth is the one thing that should keep your be there as your top priority, and you should not be thinking how are you going to shave or do whatever. If you're going to the
Oh,
gym, how many of you get that mind muscle connect when you're working out? I can bet 70% of you don't get. That's the excellent mindset that bring that connect. Start thinking like that. Relax that capacity.
yeah.
You
Might
got
I add
disconnected for
something into what?
5 seconds.
Yeah, I know. Might I
Please,
add,
Adi, please.
if you don't, I'd just like to add something to what you've just said, which is absolutely brilliant, I must say. I don't take back anything. Uh, we need to do two, three things. One, we can't have everything in the world. ठीक है? तो prioritization list होनी चाहिए हमारे पास, and this has to happen in every field. What is the basic infrastructure that we need to have all over the country? I guess all that is happening. I am not saying कि ये सब नहीं हो रहा है. Let me put that across. A lot of stuff is
Hmm.
happening right now. But as a citizen, हमको जो चीजें समझनी चाहिए कि भाई what is the basic infrastructure that I'm looking for? Basic education and awareness level. So I'm putting both of them together. Education and awareness. नहीं तो हम educate कर देते हैं, but the guy is not even aware कि भाई next country का capital क्या है. ठीक है, जिस तरह के हम बात कर रहे हैं इस टाइम पे, this is probably at a little larger level, but the generic population must be able to come up to this level. उनके पास ये एक्सेस होना चाहिए कि वो इस लेवल पे आके किसी भी सब्जेक्ट पे, नॉट जस्ट जियोपॉलिटिक्स, किसी
Hmm.
भी सब्जेक्ट पे बात करें. राइट, दे शुड बी प्लेटफॉर्म्स वेयर पीपल आर एक्सचेंजिंग व्यूज एंड दिस एंड दैट. उससे क्या होता है? I mean, I personally get encouraged more and it drives me more when I see somebody putting out a very good analysis of a situation.
Right.
Although I don't watch too many podcasts because, uh, 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 you know, I don't like kind of blending my views. To I kind of try and make my own stuff. But I do watch certain podcasts of areas of my interest, which is basically hardcore defense and stuff like that. And I watch lecture series of history. Right? If I just take that example, हिस्ट्री में किस तरह से ये लोग एक्सप्लेन करते हैं अपनी हिस्ट्री, इट इज अमेजिंग. डू वी हैव दैट? नो, वी डोंट.
Hmm.
सो जो भी करना है उसको इतना जोर से खींचना है कि साहब, इट नीड्स टू बी एट इट्स ब्रेकिंग पॉइंट, देन यू से हाँ, नाउ आई नो एवरीथिंग अबाउट दिस.
And do it a couple of times. Do it multiple times. That is R&D. That is where you know where you can better your game and which is your best game. अपने
जी,
को एक बार रिजल्ट मिल जाता है तो हम लोग छोड़ देते हैं. वी आर वेरी हैप्पी विथ वट एवर रिजल्ट वी हैव गॉट, विच
जी,
इज डेफिनेटली नॉट द ऑप्शन. ट्रस्ट मी, एक पहला रिजल्ट जो मिलता है दैट इज नॉट योर ऑप्टिमल रिजल्ट इन वट एवर यू डू.
जी. नो,
सो
ऑनेस्टली
सो
आई थिंक
सो
दिस इज अ, आपने बड़ा
हाँ हाँ,
सही सजेशन दिया है. एंड ऑल्दो लिटिल ऑफ टॉपिक, बट
a
आई
little off topic. Yeah.
greatly appreciate this. Trust you me. And मैं इसका एक क्लिप बना के डालूंगा separately so that we can actually start talking about these things. Probably in the next session we can actually do a session on this. What should Bharat do?
अरे तुम्हारा याद है, तुम्हारा वो पिछले वाला पॉडकास्ट से यू वर सपोज्ड टू मेक शॉर्ट क्लिप्स एंड ऑल.
Yes,
आई
sir.
डोंट थिंक यू हैव द टाइम
So
टू डू
I,
दैट.
I no. It's not about the time. Uh, चलो ठीक है. Let me break this news with you. I am planning to open a separate channel for clips.
Oh
ठीक है.
yes, great.
So people will be able to watch specific clips of specific
अच्छा,
discussions. जैसे पॉडकास्ट में काफी चीजें बात करते हैं हम लोग.
बात करते
So I
हैं.
want to break that thing down, question, and put them out there so that people can just watch. जिसको यार ये देखना है वो यही देखेगा बस. So there's going to be another channel which will come up in the next about 10-12 days.
ग्रेट.
वहां पर ये चीजें ज्यादा जाएंगी. Lot of shorts, lot of clips, so that you on the go you can watch that. Right? तो each podcast में जैसे आपके today we've asked 4 major questions. Right? In those 4
अच्छा.
questions, you've also discussed at the end 4 plus में हमने discuss करा what should Bharat do.
Yeah.
right? So that is a big question itself, which a lot of people will be interested in. So that is going to come across as a second channel uh, by middle of this month. So
Great.
that is what it is, and I'm also doing a lot of work with someone, who's really helping me out to kind of streamline this whole thing. So by this weekend or next weekend, we will be putting that thing online, branding, this, that, whole lot of stuff needs to be done. Uske baad by next week, I think by the middle of this month, I think that'll be out. So not to worry, all this stuff is going to go out with a bang to a lot of people. I also need to collect about 100, 200 videos and categorize them and this and that, and a whole lot of things are there. So I mean, I have 1,000 plus videos on my channel, so I'm proud of that.
Damn good. All the best.
चलिए साहब, थोड़े सवाल जवाब ले
एकदम
लेते हैं.
अच्छा
आई नो
अच्छा
वी
हुआ.
डिसाइडेड 1 आवर, बट थोड़ा सा 2-5 मिनट ऊपर होगा. दैट शुड नॉट बी मच ऑफ अ
Okay.
चैलेंज. बट द लास्ट ये जो कॉन्वर्सेशन था, आई मस्ट थैंक यू फॉर ब्रिंगिंग दिस अप. दिस वाज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. गाइस, लाइक करिए
और
वीडियो को, सब्सक्राइब करिए.
इसको इसका चलते I forgot my third point, which is strong borders, but I don't think everybody knows we don't have to talk about that. So we are talking
या
about enhanced manufacturing capacities. We are talking about a change of mindset. We are talking about stronger borders. These are the 3 points.
ट्रू.
So mindset ये यहाँ का नहीं है, but yeah, we discussed. I hope you guys like it.
Absolutely. So, guys, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you've not. Spread the word. 145, 49,000 कितने हो गए? एक दिन लेट हम हमारा टारगेट आज कर सकते हैं. It's about 149,500. Let's see if we can by tomorrow morning hit our target, which will be about 1.5 days late. That's all right, perfectly fine. I'm still very extremely happy that there are so many people and who appreciate what is happening on this channel. So thank you so much, guys. आप लोग मेरी तरफ contribute भी कर सकते हैं by using the QR code and the PayPal link for direct contributions, या फिर आप सुपर स्टिकर्स और सुपर चैट्स भी कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकते हैं. लेट्स गेट इनटू योर क्वेश्चन. सबसे पहले, श्री रामा जी, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर बिकमिंग अ मेंबर. Abhishek Samant ji, how did the deep state mess up their own country so badly? Couldn't they predict this woke nonsense would come back to bite them in the backside, or is it on purpose?
Seriously, I have no idea, यार. I've been trying to understand this and I've failed to come up with an idea कि कैसे ये कर सकते हैं. I mean, ever since the time all these relativist movements and all started, they should have realized, and the way they were bringing back all those reformed post Second World War trash into United States, ki ek din, like the way Afghan Mujahideens are going to wear support, did turn against them. अब तब वहां से भी सीख लेना चाहिए था यार. 79-80s का मुजाहिदीन टर्न अगेंस्ट अस इन 90s. सो आज का ये वोक वाला कल हम ही लोग के अगेंस्ट टर्न कर. बिकॉज आई रियली फेल टू अंडरस्टैंड वन थिंग. व्हाट इज अ बिजनेस? व्हाट गुड इज अ बिजनेस इफ इट डजंट रन ऑन फॉर प्रॉफिट? यार डाइवर्सिटी से क्या घंटा होगा मेरे को? ये दिमाग में नहीं आता है ये लोग को. आई मीन, ये प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी छोड़ दो, तुम जो करो डाइवर्सिटी लेके तुम मरो. इफ इट्स अ लिस्टेड कंपनी वेयर शेयर होल्डर्स आर पुटिंग इन देयर मनी एंड इफ दे डोंट गेट देयर रिटर्न, तुम क्या करोगे यार ये डाइवर्सिटी और इक्विटी और ये सब लेके? आई फेल टू अंडरस्टैंड. आई रियली, अभिषेक, आई डोंट हैव अ यू नो coherent answer to your question. Adi, you want to try?
Actually, you hit the point that I keep saying कि साहब ऐसा है, लेफ्टिस्ट आइडियोलॉजी से पैसे नहीं बनते, एंड दैट इज वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट फेलिंग फीचर्स ऑफ दिस होल DEI एंड ये जो वोकिज्म है.
Exactly.
ठीक है,
We
आफ्टर अ पॉइंट ऑफ
cannot.
टाइम, the
हाँ बोलो.
old Jewish man who comes to collect the money, he will come around and say, bossy, last year you made $100, this year you're telling me 30. The hell are you doing? ठीक है, so that will for sure happen. Parthaji, ask, evacuation from Bagram showed that porters can close a base with executive order. No base realignment and closure commission needed. Which base in
West Asia.
West Asia? Okay, West Asia is next. Ali Al Salam base or Salam base, air base in Kuwait. No.
I don't know. Difficult to say. मेरे ख्याल से if they're thinking of closing bases and all with this strike and all, Al-Tanf base जो है which is in Syria, I guess that is in trouble. तो उसको लेके सोचना चाहिए था because कुवैत में तो issues नहीं है. And if they decide to close, they would probably start closing with Iraq first, because that is the place, that is the government with whom United States ka talks have like kind of kick-started, sort of.
You're absolutely right actually, but उसी जो सीरिया के बेस में एक प्रॉब्लम है.
Mm,
That base is mostly run by the CIA, which does a lot
mm,
of
yeah. समझ गया.
ठीक है.
आईसिस को
So
वो लोग कैप्चर कर रहे हैं वहां से, पता है.
yeah, so
Yeah, they're fighting. Yeah.
बत्रा जी says, अरिंदम जी, अमेरिका का हाल अर्जुन जैसे तो नहीं हो गया. पहले तो हर जगह पंगे लेता है. I mean, he's gone into an indecisive mode. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that's what happens when you are what you are, which is what United States has become. Like you ship out your manufacturing, you lose your power, you turn your domestic economy into, I don't know, some kind of a pata nahi wo kya hai. Your population turns woke, your army recruitment is all time low, you are scared to lose people, that is why you start fighting proxy wars. ये जो प्रॉक्सी से आप वॉर फाइट करा रहे हो, दे टर्न बैक अगेंस्ट यू. इट्स अ सीरीज ऑफ डिसीजंस व्हिच हैव प्रोबेबली वेरी गुड डिसीजंस एट वन पॉइंट इन टाइम, लेटर ऑन उसको फॉलो अप या फॉलो थ्रू ठीक तरह से नहीं कर पाया. And that's what has happened to United States. It can happen to the best of us. That's one point which I think is very pertinent for all of us to remember, that if it
Yeah.
has happened to
Yeah.
United States, it can happen to anyone who's trying to project its power, uh, you know, thinking that there
China is
would
the
be no
biggest
consequence.
example. China is the biggest
चाइना तो
example.
चाइना तो पता नहीं, ये 10 साल करते करते बहुत साल खींच लिया यार. चाइना कब जाएगा मेरे को समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. Another 10
यार
years,
उसका democracy is done. Demographics is done.
demographic is done.
Previously,
Yeah.
see what's going to happen. And let me just explain something to you. What happens is when you basically have a falling demographic the way they have, they've gone down by 70% from uh, 70% down from 2017. Right? In
Mm,
the cities today, their demographic is 0.5%. 0.5. Your replacement ratio needs to be 2.1. You're sitting at 0.5.
mm,
Now let's look at the market confidence of China. Xi Jinping comes out and says, Bhaiya, work for the country, don't work for profits. Sleeps off, wakes up in the morning, $6.3 trillion lost. You can say Xi Jinping is very strong, that he's firing people left, right, and center. Fair enough. Yes, he's very strong. But this
how
is
does that help?
Stalinistic. This is
Yeah.
Stalinistic. And what these morons are not realizing, the Russians are making them do it. Because Russians don't want to play second fiddle to this guy.
Mm,
रशियंस इतने बेवकूफ नहीं है. तो मैं हंसता रहता हूँ जब भी बोलते हैं ना वो चाइना रशिया रिलेशनशिप है. दे डोंट नो व्हाट रशिया इज. वो पुतिन इसको अंदर से खा जाएगा. Most of the purges that have happened have come through Russian intelligence inputs.
yeah. Fingers crossed. I really wish and
ठीक है.
pray that that happens. Yeah.
Now, lastly, Xi Jinping, after he got re-elected, he told these guys that, listen, I gave you Hong Kong.
Mm,
मैंने आपको हांगकांग लाके दिया साहब. In the middle of the pandemic, I got the Hong Kong. I got Hong Kong for you. Get me elected again and I'll get you Taiwan.
Taiwan. Yeah.
He's overpromised. Kalashan06, thank you so much. Mukerjee sir, what is your favorite lemon juice brand? Today I understand what that means.
What is it? I have no idea.
Mixture?
Mixture मतलब?
Mixture.
What mixture? नींबू
यार
पानी
भाई,
क्या?
you're as good as I am, don't worry.
कालाशान, you got me stumped. I don't have an answer. Favorite lemon juice brand? lemon juice का कोई ब्रांड होता है क्या यार? बाजार जाओ, नींबू
ब्रांड
लेके आ जाओ.
ब्रांड के आगे वाई लगा लो तो क्या होता है?
ब्रांड के आगे वाई लगा लो.
हाँ, तो क्या होता है? ब्रांडी.
ब्रांड के आगे अच्छा, ब्रांड के पीछे वाई लगा लो,
Uh,
ब्रांड के बाद वाई लगा लो. ब्रांडी, नो बॉस, आई डोंट ड्रिंक. My
no,
limit is a bottle or two of beer once a year or twice a year. That's it. And that too with a very close set of friend, and that's about it. I'm not even what you can call a social drinker, so I don't drink. So
chalo.
brandy doesn't apply.
No wonder. These guys asked me the other day, even I was stumped. Anyways,
Kya
Adinath
favorite
sahab,
lemon juice?
so Adinath sahab, all the attacks by Iran have come after the Jaishankar visit of Iran. Iran suddenly has this confidence after a very passive response since Hamas-Israel war. Your thoughts?
देखो, फर्स्ट तो ईरान का अटैक आया कि नहीं, वी डोंट नो फॉर श्योर, बिकॉज ईरान ने अटैक किया या नहीं उसका कोई प्रूफ नहीं है. नंबर टू इज ईरान अटैक्स, इफ whatever, let's say this Tower 22 attack has managed a breakthrough after Patrushev's visit and meeting Iranian delegates, and after 3 months of studying the CRAM system. Practically speaking, that's the only link that we can sort of establish. Aage, whatever it is speculative. ये भी speculative है, because nobody is ever going to tell us that, oh, Russians have shared intel with Iran on CRAM and all. But yeah, this is an educated guess, you can say, because they got this in October. They started hitting Ukraine, and then they cracked it in, I think, end of November. They cracked it, and their drone strikes went up. नवंबर से दिसंबर से जनवरी, मिड जनवरी तक आ गया होगा. उसके बाद Tower 22 strike. So that's what I can think of. That's the link that I can think of. Adi, you want to say something? Anything?
No, I think you've covered it pretty well. Uh, Shivendra ji, he asked, $30 trillion US debt is hounding the US.
Yeah, it is.
It is. But when you compare it to China's 256% of declared debt, this is nothing.
हाँ, चाइना का तो क्या क्या है ना, अलग अलग लेवल्स पे है. So you've got the different provinces that have declared something. Then you've got some, I don't know, some industries that have declared something.
Yeah, it's called
इसीलिए मैं-
LGFVs, which are local government financial vehicles. So
Okay.
when the land sale reduced, they built up their own banks. And it's a freaking Ponzi scheme, man.
सब
Can
बहुत
you
सब
imagine?
स्मार्ट लोग बैठे हैं
Each province built up their own bank.
ऑन बैंकिंग
That
सिस्टम.
bank took money from the main banks and created their own fund and got deposits from people and created their own financial vehicles after that, where they chapoed money a lot and bloody put it out. They restricted their people from not investing in anything else except for real
Apart
estate,
from
which is
real
taking a
estate,
tumble today.
yeah.
So,
And people, all money is washed away now.
yeah, finished. क्या करोगे?
बहुत बहुत इंटेलिजेंट, बहुत ज्यादा इंटेलिजेंट हो गए थे.
I've been looking for an answer. मैं तो बोल रहा हूँ ठीक है यार, okay, I'm open-minded. Tell me what China can do to improve itself. I have not got a single answer that somebody can say, and I'm saying this openly right now. If anybody knows, anybody has insight, I'd love to learn. I'm not being arrogant about it. मैं actually पूछ रहा हूँ, बताओ यार, what can it do in such a situation? Can it buy back 1.5 billion houses? That's the amount of extra houses in China, by the way.
1.5
billion. The
समझ
entire
गया.
of India can go to China for a vacation and stay one per house.
Yeah, settle down. और
हाँ,
सेटल डाउन का नहीं, अपना वो क्या बोलते हैं, वेकेशन वाला हाउस वहां पे रखो एक
हाँ,
चीज के.
weekend मार के आएगा.
अच्छा दादा, question, I have to get back
हाँ जी.
to these
Arindam
people.
ji says, isn't Iran punching above his weight?
Iran is trying to punch above its weight. Yes, you are right, Batraji. But it's a calculated risk which Iran is taking. And again, this attack, there is no way of making sure if this attack was by Iran. Through Iranian proxies, definitely yes. But Iran तभी तो अपना वेट के ऊपर पंच करने में सक्सेसफुल है, because Iran has been successful in utilizing its proxies very nicely. आप हुती बोलो, आप हमास बोलो, आप हिजबुल्लाह बोलो, आप कुछ भी बोलो. Iran has utilized them wonderfully. That is why it is being able to punch above its weight. In the long run, there are a lot of other factors that would come into play. Middle East ka regional players would also come into play. So तब का तब देखा जाएगा, तब देखेंगे.
जी. There's a brilliant term which has come out. What we need is excellence. My coinage, but I think it would make sense. I think
Yeah,
that's a good term.
yeah. Yes.
Last few, Phoenix says Raghavan committee says that DRDO should only be in research and not production, and private players should manufacture. I'll just hold you here because there is a linked comment. DRDO may be, sorry, my apologies. DRDO may be restructuring हो रही है. There will be more R&D division. Manufacturing will be with partners, I think. Also emphasis on campus selection and newer blood. This is something that happened on that so-called alleged war meeting that Modi Saab held.
War meeting. War
So
meeting. Yeah.
your comments.
देखो, these are to my mind, these are admin issues which would be best handled by the government. Okay. Then again, having said that, if you are doing the R&D and if you're passing it on to somebody else to manufacture, the one thing that you have to make sure is that you get the best person, and not
Yeah.
because उसका quotation amount कम था या उसके साथ किसी state का chief minister का relation अच्छा है. That is where your excellence mindset suffers, and this is what I've been trying to tell you. I mean, this is another good example. If you are a excellence mindset kind of a batch, kind of a people, then you would look at the best person. जिसको जॉर्डन पीटरसन एक टाइम पे बहुत सुनते थे. He used to call the result of hierarchy of competence, people who are sitting at the
Yeah.
top of the competence pyramid, people who are best in their trade. उसको पकड़ो, उससे करवाओ. ऐसा नहीं कि you take the second best or the third best because it suits your political or your whatever financial interest. तो वो करने से फिर वो defeat हो जाएगा. But as long I have hopes, let's hope we go with the best person as far as manufacturing is concerned.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. अरिंदम, पीछे से उठा के एक बुक रेकमेंड करो. That was
रुको यार,
something, huh?
कौन सा रेकमेंड करे. यहाँ पे बहुत सारा. Do you read fiction? Then I can have a couple of very good fiction for you.
नहीं, geopolitics भाई.
Geopolitics का most of my geopolitics books are PDF. You've seen Aadi, I've shared with you so many books, most of them are PDFs.
Yeah.
यहाँ पे there are old books, there is
आप fiction recommend कर दो, चलो.
This is the last one that I read. Mission to Paris by Alan First. It's a wonderful book. I would also suggest इससे पहले The Spice of Balkans बोल के एक है. Spice of Balkans. If you like fiction, Alan First is the closest that you can come to mixing literature and spy stories. It's a wonderful writer, so you can read his book. अगर आप John le Carre से, if you are familiar with John le Carre, then you would find a lot of reflections of that in Alan First. And Alan First का Spice of the Balkans पढ़ो, फिर उसके बाद ये पढ़ना आप. Mission to Paris. Very good book. I can right away I just came to my mind. पीछे बहुत सारा है. There's a whole lot of Frederick Forsyth and Robert Ludlum and ये वो फलाना बहुत सारा है. Okay, and then there is something which comes to my mind right now is अभी देखा तो आ गया. एक मिनट रुको. You can read this. This is a non-fiction.
The Cost and Consequences of the American Empire. Yeah, that'll be interesting.
This one gentleman wrote this book कि boss जो blowback आ रहा है, you guys cannot handle it. And so this book in a kind of way this is his work which sort of vindicates his क्या बोलते हैं उसको, his prediction. And right now with Israel का लोचा going on, you can read this book.
This I've seen, yeah. It's a very important book.
Book. It's a very important book.
Very important book. And the last question we'll take is Kunal, who says, sir, US current state of geopolitical issues directly linked to a section of them being taken over by the wokist gang. Did this start with Obama's rule?
Not so black and white, but there is a fair chance. If you look at the decision makers that are around Joe Biden these days, you cannot compare them with the guys that were there around 1960s and 1970s. When did they begin? Probably Obama ke time mein. Yeah, probably before that, we have no idea, because this infiltration of United States as academia and intelligence and media, etc., has started during the time this anti-war movement जो चल रहा था ना, Vietnam war के against जो anti-war movement चल रहा था. That is where a lot of cultural Marxists found a lot of ground. These guys sort of later on graduated and post graduated and became professors and this so on and so forth. So 70s 80s se to definitely chalu ho gaya hoga this wokeism ka thing, and the result of it today you have spokesperson of army who's, I am confused whether he is a he or he is a she, वो क्या क्या पहन के आ जाते हैं यार.
You saw that, Colonel, no? My God.
Yeah, I don't know, and with all due respect to everyone, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but यार ऐसे थोड़ी होता है. I mean, ठीक है, if you look at a small country like India, आज के इंडिया छोड़ दो, 5 साल पहले का इंडिया पकड़ के चलो कि if you look at a country which is like India, US के comparison में कुछ नहीं है, बस we have our domestic issues to take care of, we remain concerned with our domestic affairs. But this is bloody United States of America. You are the bloody ruler of the world, and if this is the kind of people that are advising you, and this is what happens. How many of them are woke? What percentage of them are woke? I have no idea.
That puts you to a thought ki sab, you really don't know how deep the rot goes into the system, right? We keep fighting it amongst us, and most of the people keep pointing fingers. Kabhi koi shuru ho jayega, bhai Harvard University ko pakdo, usko pakdo, usko pakdo. These are symptoms, right? These are just the symptoms. The disease is somewhere else. So you can catch Harvard, sting their neck and get yourself rid out of it. Fair enough, that's fine. But kahin na kahin, you need to understand ki saab, the head of the snake is somewhere else.
And Adi, they are riddled. They are riddled with the whole thing. That is why Vivek Ramaswamy was saying that the first thing he's going to do is he's going to cut down some 60 or 40 or 50 or 60% of the bureaucracy and shut down FBI. He had this roadmap very nicely planned. Once you manage to do that, head cutting chhod do, you have to build an entire generation of people on meritocracy alone, hierarchy of competence. You have to bring in that kind of a mindset in those that set of people, continue with it for 20-30 years, and then you can see good result. Tab tak wo head khud ba khud khatam ho jayega. But nobody will bell the cat. Nobody is in a position to do so, because the president is run by these people, and there's no way you can get out of it. You think Joe Biden is running that country? The guy can't even stand straight. And I'm being very, very bhodro, very decent about him. Look at the way
you're not
Donald
being
Trump speaks.
facetious about it. Absolutely, you're not being facetious about it. That's the reality.
This guy is standing up, suddenly turns back and starts talking and waving to some ghost that is he running the country really? He's not. Now जो चला रहा है वो चला रहा है, अब पता नहीं वो क्या है, कहाँ है,
चला रहा है, चला रही है, पता नहीं क्या है.
हाँ.
So that also we don't know. I mean, what's the game? Who's doing this? No one knows. Who's actually the person taking the decisions behind the scene? Somebody really needs to explain to the world. But in any case, Arindam Saab, thank you so much for joining in. I know it's a busy day for you. So I'm going to let you go. Thanks so much. Always an honor and a pleasure to have you on the platform. Maza aata hai. Our discussions are always fun because we take it to a very different level. And it's always fun to kind of play the geopolitic game with you. So thanks so much. Guys, before you sign off, thank you, sir. Jai Hind.
Good night. Jai Hind.